It's not a good day. It's a bad day if you play orcs. Uh-oh. Sorry this happened. It sucks to suck. Hi, I'm Tyler. Welcome to Billion Dollar Clown Farm. So we're gonna be sad about the Dataslate. Sorry if that's the world we both live in now. And go over everything there is to know about it if you're someone who only cares about orcs. The changes. Meganobs are at 40 points per model now, and their 4-up Funeral Pain has become a 5-up Funeral Pain. Green Tide is on Suicide Watch. Pivoting is better, I guess. Pivoting's better. Yay. Pretty cool. Pretty cool changes. Pretty good balanced array of new fun stuff. I didn't even think Bully Boys were that good before. I mean, they were really good, but they're like losing games out there, you know? Now it's dark times. Now this is the world we live in. Not great. Uh-oh. Meganob's big sad. Green Tide even more sad. What do you do about this? We're in a world where you can still kind of do the same stuff and do like fine for Bully Boys. Like I think you take 12 Meganobs max now. I think that's like okay. I would take like 5 or 6 at the most, but if you just bought a ton and you want to keep playing with them, it's probably okay. It would probably feel bad if you were playing a lot already, you know, you are a lot worse and have to just live in a new, less fun reality. But if you're okay with that, they're still playable enough. Like, I like Gaz with them. Gaz in like 3 or 2 is like okay. Even Gaz of like a 5 or 6 brick with like Power Claws seems fine. And that's like all the Meganobs you have. It's really good in Warhorde. Bully Boys, it's great too. Green Tide, I would probably skip that at this point. It's a little expensive, but yeah, this is very confusing. I was like pretty convinced none of this was going to go as bad as it did. Yeah, I'm also kind of emotionally checked out of competitive 40k right now. I've been having fun in Kill Team land and focusing on other stuff, so the bleakness of this morning brought me back. And I mean, I've still been playing, and I play like probably like 2 tournaments a month now, but they're just RTTs, so it's like, and I'm not practicing at all, so it feels like this is a low amount of competitive 40k for me. Just because like I don't really have any practice games, I don't have any events I'm gearing up for. I've done like a couple majors since the Codex, or 1 major, I think 2 GTs since the Codex came out. But even that, like, yeah, I don't know. I feel like the most inspiring stuff in orcs is actually like, so if you just bought in because they're competitive and now you're sad and don't know what to do, I'm sorry, it's a rough place to be in. If you like orcs a lot in general and have a bunch of other stuff, I think there's like, the real silver lining to this is that I think there was a lot of like exciting stuff that people weren't playing at that much, at least, because Bully Boys and Green Tide were like real big and it was hard not to play either of them. And I think you can try and dip your toes into that other stuff and probably have a good time now. Like Dread Mob is something that's been doing pretty good, and I don't think any Dread Mob lists I've seen do well have been affected by this at all. Like literal 0% outside of like Snikrot going up 10 points, which you just like rearrange some small stuff for. It's not so bad. I think Bully Boys is still a great detachment because you have 2 Wogs, as long as you have a War Boss, which also got a nerf, which it feels like kind of accident. I don't like, if you don't know, if a War Boss is in a transport now, he doesn't double his attacks characteristic anymore. It's weird. I was surprised they ruled that way too. It feels honestly just like whoever was in charge of that decision didn't really like think through like what that means or what the question was, and just went off like rules as written how it works. It feels like some of the frontline gaming packets and like FAQs I've seen where somebody asks a question and then the person answering it responds without really knowing like the implications of like what it is or why they're asking. So it just feels like they went off of the like rules as written. You don't double your attacks if you're in transport because you're not on the board, and you can't use your abilities if you're not on the board. But yeah, it seems a little silly. At least, like, I mean, you can get around this by disembarking the turn before, or more realistically with Bully Boys. I think a lot of the time you will just have a second turn of WOG where you're, like, on the field, hopefully. The first turn, that War Boss won't get supercharged, which is too bad. But that's the way the rule's written. It's been long enough since Warhorde was a thing that I am Stockholm Syndrome nostalgic for it. And Big Hunt Lameo. I think it's not a good time. It's not, if you're trying to play orcs competitively, it's not a good time. There's no real great way of looking at this. I think like my instinct, partially because I'm just kind of checked out of competitive 40k in general right now. I think like 10th is an addition I'm not like super interested in still. I think like it's like pretty good as a competitive edition, but like most of the mechanics in it aren't like really exciting to me. I feel like my skill ceiling as a player feels a little lower than it did like towards the end of ninth. And narratively, it doesn't feel like it's accomplishing what like older editions of 40k did. So it just feels like it's kind of a weird place that I've been lackluster about for a while, and this just sort of like seals that for me. So for me personally, now is the time to meme. I want to just run like a bunch of bullshit and have a good time with it. I think like just trying to do some wacky hijinks and try out weird builds as someone who owns like a ton of orcs already. And if that's you, I think that's like maybe what you should look into doing too. I'll go over like lists later. I built a bunch of lists of like specific things that I think would be cool and follow this train of thought. Orcs can still win consistently, but who cares? Yeah, I think like you can still play Green Tide, Warhorde, or Bully Boys and do like fine. I think Green Tide is limping the most. Bully Boys is good. You just don't take that many Meganoms now. Then Warhorde's like basically the same as it was pre-Codex. So you're going back to a pre-Codex world, which is sad and disappointing, but it's I don't think it's that much worse than before the Codex. Like Art as Nails is a little worse now. There's like some stuff. But one huge thing that happened, which I think I go over, I think there's a slide that talks about this too, but in case there isn't, Heroic Intervention is 1 CP now, which is awesome. And I think Orcs play the new, like, Pariah Nexus mission pretty well, too. Deployment zones are a little closer together. They have a lot of, like, access to cheap small throwaway units, which the game really rewards, because there's even more like mission action stuff you have to do on some of these. And you also have like decent options for the new little like Gambit secret mission things that they have. I don't know if you take those that often because you're an army that can still score primary like pretty well, but if you have to, like, yeah, you can do a good job at like quite a few of those. So I think it's not like all doomery. I think it's just like kind of a bummer. And there's like nothing really like that exciting or cool or fun that we got out of this. It's all just like bad. And even though it's not like abysmal to the point where I think like everything people have been doing is like absolutely unplayable, it for sure sucks. It's not a good time. So yeah, I think like taking 1 Mega Knob unit is still good in Bully Boys. I don't think you take them anywhere else now, which is sad, including Dread Mob. In Green Tide, they lost the like reroll ones like for your save thing for being 10 or more models, which removes them from that. 40 points for a 5-up. Feeling pain once per game. KFF resurrecting them doesn't feel awesome. It's really funny to me that they went to 40 because like at 30 pre-Codex, people like were running them kind of sometimes at 30, but like barely. And I think now like I would say like the pre-Codex Meganoms are like significantly better than the current ones that are 40 and 5-up. This feels like I think they actually like just 2 people. I think my guess is 2 separate people made this decision and didn't communicate with each other, which a lot of people like maybe surprised at. But I think like Games Workshop is not run as tight of a ship as a lot of people think, and accidents like that do happen all the time. I don't want to say exactly who I feel like is responsible, but as someone who knows like a little bit of what goes on inside, it doesn't feel like that unrealistic for them to just like have an oversight and like double nerf by accident. My guess is it was supposed to be one or the other, and then both made it in, probably unintentionally. But both are in, so here's the world we're in. Yeah, as I said earlier, I guess it's pretty good. Warhorde is probably the best attachment for competitive play, but I'm too codependent on second log to play it. Battle wagons look good. The pivoting thing helped them a lot. If anyone doesn't know, pivoting now, instead of like measuring every time you pivot like it's been previously for basically all of Warhammer, now you just if you pivot during your movement and you don't have a base, you just subtract 2 from your movement characteristic. Battle wagons are going to move 8 inches and pivot as much as they want, which is generally pretty good. I think there's some instances where this is like worse than it was previously, but for the most part, I think it's like just like an easier quality of life thing, so I'm for it. And then yeah, 1 CP Heroic Intervention is really big. Tactical card redraw, the like stratagem where you redraw a tactical card is now 1 CP. So playing like a mission game is really, really good. Green Tide as a result still has some play. You're just like solely a we score points now army. And realistically, you probably want to take more like Storm Boys and bikes and stuff. That's not what my list is. I'll go over my Green Tide list later because I'm just like in a separate headspace. But if you wanted to make a competitive Green Tide list still, if you wanted to try to do that, I think, yeah, just like triple Storm Boy, a bike unit. You have probably 100 boys. My list has like 3 by 20 and then 2 10-mans, so that you can't give up max Call of Horde, which is the new secondary that rewards you for killing a lot of models, because you only get points for that one if it's a unit of 20 or more dudes. The 2 10-mans don't give that up, so they can max at 15. And then yeah, you have some battle wagons, you have like a truck or two, and you just go around the board scoring points and move blocking and denying your opponent points, and hopefully that works out. This is my first list. This is green tidal wave. I think this encapsulates where like I'm at with the game. Most games of 10th I've played recently feel like they have like more RNG in them, and like not being able to, as a melee army, like do as much as you could in 9th can really feel like the weight of that still. So I think like for me right now, 40k is more interesting. It's just like kind of a wacky fun time with friends game, but it is like a let's get really good at this because it's cool from a competitive standpoint game. And I think it is largely just like orcs too, and like playing a all melee army. Not that they have to be that, but that's like the way I've been playing them, and generally like playing them more. This list like doubles down on wackiness. I built this for like Green Tide, but it'd be fine in Warhorde too. I think you could even honestly also run it in Bully Boys, and I would just like finagle it around a little bit so that you have less boys and some knobs. But yeah, this in Bully Boys restructured feels like it'd be fine too. So in this specific one, I have Warboss with Ferocious Show Off, plain old vanilla Warboss, one with Brutal but Cunning, which is the generate CP enhancement, a Weird Boy for teleporting, one of the Burks of 10 around, 2 10-mans, 320, truck, battle wagon, gargantuan Squagoth, 2 units of 11 grots, and 2 Storm Boys. So the score is like reasonably okay, but the main reason I like it is because there's a big Squagoth in it, and I think he'll be fun to pivot around now that that's an easy thing to do. This is a version that fits into Bully Boys. You just drop the boys down a lot. I think you could do like a hybrid of these two too. I think like orcs are in a place where I think you can kind of just take like whatever and it's fine. Like Squighogs feel okay to me. There's like a lot of units that do like kind of the same thing, and it doesn't really matter which one you take now that like Mega Knobs aren't like the obvious thing you should be taking in Bully Boys. Like I kind of don't mind like a couple small 3-man Squighog units and like Bully Boys too, even though they only get 1 wog. Squighogs for just like tying stuff up and being annoying feels cool. I think like the 2 with a Squigosaur or Mazarog is still a little too expensive, unfortunately. I think like 1 unit like that and like Big Hunt is still good. And yeah, currently I feel like what like your list is matters a lot less. Like I think like random flash kit units are like okay too. There's a lot of things that feel like sort of fine, and it's more about like how you use them rather than like if you're taking the absolute like most optimized thing or not. So I'll go over this real quick and then talk about it a little. So this is 3 war bosses again. You're playing Bully Boys, so you're gonna have a second wog, so even if they start in the transport, you'll at least have 1 wog where we're doubling their attacks. The war boss and Mega Armor. I think Mega Knobs are mostly just a delivery system for him. Now he's still great. You could also give him the bonus 2 wounds for 15 points or whatever it is if you want to. This is 20 boys, a truck, a battle wagon, the big man Squigoth, 2 units of grots, just 2 Mega Knobs. So it's 160 for the war boss and Mega Armor with the Mega Knobs, which feels pretty bad. You can make them a 200 point unit if you really wanted to for a third one, but like this unit for me is something that just kills like a couple random dudes somewhere and is like a little annoying for your opponent to deal with. It's not like insane. This is just like a hey, delete like a medium to small size threat utility unit. You could have it multi-charge with like the knobs or something for like even more punch, or it can just go off on its own and kill like a small-ish thing and stand on a point somewhere. Even just 2 Mega Knobs and a war boss is still something your opponent has to put like some amount of like real shooting or combat into. It's not that hard to kill now at all, but it's more than 0. I think keeping them small is like cool. You could probably do 2 of these and play like more MSU, but I think just 1 is enough for me. 2 units of 10 knobs of Power Claws, so these each have a war boss with them, and 5 knobs of Big Choppas, which again are like another small utility unit that sort of runs around killing small stuff. These won't have a war boss because the 3rd war boss is going with the 20 boys, so that they benefit from the Bully Boys detachment. These guys just kind of hang out, and they have access to like all the Bully Boys stratagems. So like if someone tries to fall back from them, you can make them do like the 1 2 3 you die desperate breakout stratagem, whose name I forget right now. Like my goal for them would just be like harass stuff. I don't feel that guilty if they're just like stuck defending a point, and they can tag stuff to make people have to take a desperate breakout test and die on a 1, 2, or 3. 2 units of Stormboys and Warbikers just for like mission tools and maybe some screening. So yeah, like I was saying earlier, this is just kind of a lot of stuff that I'm excited about. I think you don't need 20 knobs. They don't feel like insanely good or mandatory to me. I just happen to like knobs. I'm pretty used to playing with them. You could probably bring one or both of those down to 5-mans and even throw like a beast boss with some beast snaggers in here. I don't hate. It's a good unit. Having played with like boys and beast snagger boys and boy boys a lot, it feels bad that you can't like fight on death and use all the good boy strats with them. So I kind of don't want to take more than the 20 boys. I would even consider going down to 10 boys in this and then finding something else to do with like 85 points, like maybe a couple more mega knobs or whatever. But having the big boy unit for like just like OC denial and making a huge wall of boys is still good. So they're in there for now. And if you don't own a Gargantuan Squiggoff, here's a more sane alternative. To be clear, I don't think he's like giga good now or whatever. I just really like Gargantuan Squiggoffs, and pivoting's easier. And we live in a world where there's like not like an insane list I'm like super excited about right now. So now's as good of a time as ever for him to like come hang out and be off the shelf for a little bit. I plan on playing like a few games with him and then probably going back to playing Dreadmob actually after, realistically. So yeah, this has the triple war boss and the beast boss and the war boss and mega armor with the 15-point upgrade to give him an extra wound, or 2 extra wounds. It has 10 boys, 10 beast snagger boys, a second truck, 2 battle wagons now, no Squiggoff, 2 units of Grot still, the 1 unit of 2 mega knobs. This has 30 knobs in it, which is maybe overkill. The big Chapo one will not have a war boss probably most games. You could decide at the beginning of the game to put a war boss with them. You could also just do triple power claw, and then the boys just don't get a second log, and they're just like, oh, I forgot to change this. I counted for this being 85 points, not 170, but I forgot to change the number here. So yeah, the 10-man boys can just be like objective dudes winning some games, or like an extra combat unit and put them with war boss depending what you need more. I also don't hate making this 10-man knob unit all have power claws too, because like between 10 of them hitting on 4s, you're still probably going to be fine most of the time, especially with like the reroll hit stratagem. That's a thing, right? I'm not making that up. I'm a little rusty. I haven't played Kill Team. We're in a different headspace. The 2 Stormball units and Warbikers still. So, same as this, just no Squiggoff. I think knobs are like pretty good. You can still just sort of hammer people and have lots of small units. I think like maybe even for this list, I wouldn't mind cutting some knobs or the boys and having like an extra Stormboy unit and like some other utility piece. Like the trucks can do actions too. Commandos seem fine. I definitely don't hate commandos. Snickerod's still good. He went up 10 points, but he's fine still. He's good for mission play. It's nice just having like utility things that your opponent has to think about a little. And this is the kind of list I'm actually most excited about right now. This is the Twin Towers. Building 1 and Building 2 is 2 mechs, 10 boys, which just go inside one of the Stompas, 4 units of Grots. Grots are awesome. I think like if you're running if you're running Dreadmob, you want to take advantage of the fact that they're battle line. The 2 Stompas and 5 Stormboys. It would be cool to fit Zogrod in here, but it's you're a little pressed for points once you have your 2 800-point sons along for the ride. So he didn't make it in this one. But yeah, I think this is like actually a list that can win games. I don't think it can win events, but I think it can win games. Stompas harder than I think they initially thought they were going to. I've had a really good time in the handful of Stompa games that I've played. Their damage output is immense. I think 1 is like a real thing. I don't think it's a real thing that wins a tournament, but I think it's a real thing that could go like 2-1 in an RTT. And you'll have a really good time doing it. And I mean, yeah, it could win an RTT if you have like perfect matchups and stuff, or everyone in your area is just bad. Like Dreadmob in general is probably, I think actually I put earlier that like Warhorde and Bully Boys, or Warhorde is like maybe the best one, but I think like Dreadmob might be too. Warhorde, Bully Boys, and Dreadmob are the ones you decide between for competitive. And Dreadmob is, and then Green Tide is still like fine, but it's gonna be a bit of a struggle, I think. Here's what I think like an actual competitive Dreadmob list could look like. Mark Perry is a really, really good player who I think went like, he had like 1 loss and like it was like a 7-round event with like 6 wins and a loss, or 8-round event with like 7 wins and a loss. I don't know. He did very good at, I think it was the Rocky Top GT a little while ago. And there's the dude from somewhere in Europe. I think his name Martin. I forget his last name right now, but he had a really good Dreadmob list too and won a GT out there. It seems to me Big Mechs of Shock Attack and Ludas are something that everybody was, including myself, was like sleeping on initially. And the math kind of checks out because like you're not taking the Ludas because they're Ludas. You're taking them because the Big Mech with Shock Attack gun and like all the Dreadnought shooting stratagems stacked on him as an infantry model who can just kind of pop out from behind a wall or from out from a truck or out of a Gorkanaut even with his Luda friends, and then like be a target of all the stratagems is like pretty scary. He can do a lot of damage. I think in this one, he has the Git Finder or whatever, like the goggles. One of them has the goggles that ignore cover, but I forgot to write it down. I think the points are actually accounted for this. So if you build this exact list, I think you'll have 10 extra points left to ignore cover with Big Mech. But yeah, I'll just read off the units here. So we've got 2 shock attack guns. I believe one with the upgrade that ignores cover. Snickrot. Dreadnought's really good at playing the mission too. So he's another utility piece that's very flexible and can do all sorts of fun mission stuff and kill stuff if he really needs to. A mech who is going to be giving one of the Gorkanauts +1 to hit. Zodgrod, he goes with the unit of 20 Grots down here. And then 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Yeah, there are 5 other Grot units too, just 10 mans. A truck. The truck, I was imagining, would either have Volutas or Grots, depending on the matchup. And then, yeah, same with the Gorkanauts. They probably have Grots in them too, but maybe Ludas, depending on what you're fighting against. Commandos, I like as a move blocking thing. I saw one game Mark Perry played at the Rocky Top GT. I think it's on the War Games Live channel. I think Rocky Top GT Day 2, Mark Perry plays, and he had like 30 commandos in his list, which feels like a lot to me. But I mean, he did super well with them, so I think there's definitely something to commandos. 2 Luda units. Rockets and custom Mega Blasters both feel fine. I would probably take rockets, but I don't really mind either of those. 2 Smasher Guns, which I personally feel like I could kind of take or leave it. They're just backfield guys that have like decent shooting for their points. 3 units of Storm Boys and Warbikers, because with this army you have like so much move blocking control and high OC and ability to like score and screen out and move block your opponent, while also being like good enough at shooting and killing them with the 2 Gorkanauts and Voluta bombs. I think like if you keep Volutas hidden for, you want like 1 Luda unit in your back pocket, but it's like hiding for a lot of the game so that you can have them pop out and then like delete something once you pop every stratagem in the Dreadnought detachment on them. Like you give them the reel to hit, you give them, you definitely push the button for lethal and sustain. What else? I don't know. Whatever else what else does Dreadnought have? Yeah, Daka. Early game, you want to use them to Gorkanauts while we're still alive in the mech. Ideally, I think you're just like sort of hiding the Big Mech of Shock Attack and Ludas from anything that can really kill them back, because they're super squishy. And later on in the game, you want to have them to just like keep deleting stuff. Bigger shells for bigger gits. You obviously definitely want on the Gorkanaut. And later on, yeah, same deal. You can use it on the Big Mech of Shock Attack guns too. The main one you want to do is Daka for the reroll hits though. And Conniving Runts is great on the big 20-man unit of Grots. The mortal wounds are cute and can come handy in a pinch, but aren't reliable. But being able to make like a normal move with them and like move blocking in an even more annoying way than your opponent was anticipating, or like fall back out of like to make like a harder charge or something is pretty cool. Here's a second version of this list with 1 Gorkanaut. Death Shreds are a unit I personally actually haven't played yet, but again, Mark Perry had 3 of them and did pretty well. I was impressed by the stream games I've seen him play with them, and yeah, they feel fine with the Scorches. Like you're taking the Scorches just as like a little screen clear thing, and they're annoying guys that just sort of wander around the board and are reasonably easy to hide. This one has 3 Big Mechs of Shock Attack on and 3 units of Ludas. I still like having 1 Gorkanaut because I just like them as models. And this list, I think surprisingly also, neither of these give up max bring it down. If you take out kilocans, it like makes it sort of hard for your opponent to do that, which I like because you're going to take a lot of characters. So allows them to not just be able to auto double dip into bring it down and assassinate. They'll have to choose another secondary. And if they choose assassinate against you, like say it's like Tyranids or something, or I guess the Spore Mines can't just like action monkey forever now, but say something that like can do teleporters or whatever and do deploy teleport armors is called like pretty easily. And then they take assassinate too. It's not an auto to kill these because they're characters that are like hiding in the back. It's not like they're war bosses that are like charging at your opponent. They're gonna be like exposed and easy to kill. Like you could just like have Snickrot fuck off and the mech fuck off on their own for most of the game in a place that's like pretty hard to reach. And like yeah, the rest is the same. It's just you put in the Death Dreads, you drop a Gorkanaut, And you fit another unit of Ludas and a big Mech of Shock Attack on in there. Like the rest of Orcs, I think there's like a lot of things you can kind of do with Dread Mob. I don't hate like a unit of 6 kill cans too. I think like taking 18 or that much more than that is tough. I think kill cans are way better in player place terrain too. And in GW fixed, I think it's like sort of hard for them to maneuver around because you can't make your side of the board as open. And I think you could even throw a Stompa into either of these and not be too embarrassed. And I kind of like that Orcs are in a place where I don't feel like pressure to like have to do really well with them or go super try hard. I'm someone with like a lot of try hard instincts and definitely comes from a world of like having played a lot of competitive 40k, but I'm not about that right now. So I feel like these nerfs are kind of okay for me because this is like much more of a list I'm excited about. And if you're someone who's passionate about Orcs too, I would just like look at the models you have and try and have fun like experimenting with them. I think we're at a point where Orcs are no longer going to be like a meta menace, and with like Xasthurs seem like they're going to be good. I know they had like got like a bunch of like point hits, but I think they're going to be great. And Tau just got some buffs, which is crazy because I thought they were already super good. And GSC seems like they're going to be in a better place than people initially thought too, because they've gone down in points with some key units. What else has happened? Oh, Dark Angel seems sick. I kind of want to play in my inner circle too. Like Deathwing Knights seem like they fuck. There's all sorts of like crazy new stuff going on out there. And then the new mission packs are like crazy too. Like, have you seen those deployment zones? Holy shit. Tactical seems better because as long as you have a CP, you can redraw a card, which is pretty cool. I think I've had a lot of games and just poorly due to card draw. And at least at this point, like if you're always saving a CP and you have good CP discipline, so that like you can redraw a card if you need to, it makes playing tactical something you can score high much more consistently and like have a lower chance of just running into a game where you get boned because your tactical draw was like terrible the whole time. So yeah, those are my thoughts on the Dataslate. In tragedy, we find a comedy. You just gotta find what's funny and cool and makes you feel good about playing this game and moving your little guys around. For me, it's a bunch of stinky dreadnoughts and big mech guys with guns because I think they're sick. And I'm a little tired of just running straight head first with bully boys over and over and over and over again. But like I think Big Hunt is like really, really funny too. I think you could make an awesome Big Hunt list. And yeah, like within bully boys, there's like options still. As someone who's very fond of Meganobs, it is sad that they are not as much of an option now. And what feels worse to me is that they're not really an option in any detachment besides the one that makes them like kind of good competitively. But yeah, Meganobs don't feel amazing to me. And it's sad because I like the models a lot. But mechanically, no one likes a 4-up Feel No Pain. I don't even like playing with a 4-up Feel No Pain. That feels bad. So that being gone's okay. But the point hit on top of that is rough stuff. I don't know. Yeah, how do other work players feel about this? If you have any like laments, not just for engagement farming, but because I genuinely want to know. Like, yeah, let me know. I want to see how other people feel about this. I mean, it's not good, but like if you're excited about like something or have like some kind of cool wacky idea for a list, now's the time. So I'm all ears. Anyways, thanks for watching this video. Make sure to turn the notification bell off and unsubscribe from me, and report my account from hate speech once you're done watching this video. Thanks for coming by, and I'll see you the next time.